Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on a Thursday evening, the last show of the week. Here for us on the Prime Time Show. Happy to have you guys in for another episode to kind of go through, to take a look at the work that John Robinson has done as general manager heading into his seventh season for this franchise, to take a look at the best selections of the 6 years of John Robinson's tenure and then maybe peel through some of the worst when it comes to free agents, given that that's the mode that we should all be currently thinking about for the Tennessee Titans. We're going to get into a weekend bounce back as well. Of course, Thursday night is the last show of the week for us here on A to Z Sports Prime Time. So have your bounce back candidates in mind. A lot of good stuff to get to over the course of the next 45 minutes or so. Before we get rolling, need you guys to share this show on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Twitch. If you are hanging out with us on Twitter, please retweet the show. That's in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you are on YouTube or Twitch with us, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already to the A to Z Sports channel, where you can get our live stream coverage 7 days a week. By the way, the Nashville Predators have just made their first-round pick in this evening's NHL draft. Joakim Kemmel Reed, I hope I've pronounced that correctly. Either way, they drafted a right winger, a forward, to come in and, maybe I've heard comparisons to Victor Arvidsson on the ESPN broadcast tonight. But no, it does not seem that has anything to do with Philip Forsberg and his current pending free agent status as of yet. But that's happening for the Preds tonight. We're talking Titans this evening and focusing in on free agents. Derek says John Robinson doesn't hold on to mistakes. Sure, and that's a valid point. But they're at, every general manager, everybody has something regrettable that they would look back in their career and say, yeah, probably could have done that better. Well, tonight we're going to take a look at what that means for what those selections have meant for the Titans. Bizarro PK on Twitch says, whatever happened to live broadcast through Twitter? Yeah, I don't really give a shit about Twitter, to be honest with you. It's less important than the other three. So we stopped live streaming on Twitter and we retweet the YouTube link there for everybody to be able to watch together. So yeah, it's not really worth, I suppose we could do the Twitter stream without much issue, right, Reed? I guess there wouldn't be any harm to it other than, it being really unnecessary for the purposes of the show. But yeah, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch is primarily where this streams. And then the YouTube link is what goes out on Twitter. So you can get us on YouTube, Facebook Live, or Twitch if you so choose. Anyway, a lot of Donald Red said Bucks basically said, F them Twitter kids. No, yeah, it's not people on Twitter that I'm saying F. It's just Twitter doesn't do anything for the purposes of the show, right? It doesn't really it's not worth it, I guess. Even as it would just take an extra click of a button here for us. It's not necessarily there's not necessarily productive business use for Twitter, so we have chosen to live stream away from Twitter. Now the radio show streams on Twitter, but honestly, I would do away with the radio show stream on Twitter too if I could, and just focus everything specifically on YouTube. But that's just me. Anyway, tonight we're talking best and worst free agent signings of John Robinson's career. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get this show started. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on a Thursday. If you're new to the show, I'm your host, Buck Rising, and I'm proud as always to be presented to you by our friends at Two Rivers Ford. Two Rivers Ford is where you go for satisfaction guaranteed. It's where you go for the best in the business. It's where you go for quality American-made Ford vehicles and a non-commissioned sales staff. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. Looking at the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage, the official real estate agent of the Nashville Predators is GaryAshton.com. So when this Preds first round pick looks for his dream address without the stress, he'll use the Gary Ashton team. GaryAshton.com, the Intel Edge available to you there. So looking at over the course of John Robinson's 6 years so far as general manager of the Tennessee Titans. There's a lot of good. There's vastly more good than bad. There are some obvious glaring issues with any general manager's resume, right? Player, the scouting of talent, whether it's in football, basketball, baseball, hell, in our industry, it's difficult to find talent just across the board. There's no perfect formula, regardless of whatever your business is. And so to look at free agents specifically, guys who they've had to supplement their roster with, not homegrown talent. For example, Kevin Byard wouldn't count for this portion of the conversation. He is somebody who was drafted here. He was somebody who never really hit free agency. And he was somebody who got a long-term contract extension here. Lawan would be the same, even though John didn't draft him. Technically, Harold Landry, no, Harold never hit free agency really either. So that was not a huge issue. Ryan Tannehill, however, would count for the purposes of this conversation. Well, no, I guess Ryan Tannehill wouldn't count for the purposes of this conversation because it's a trade acquisition. So Ryan Tannehill doesn't even count. Julio Jones doesn't count either because he's a trade. So you have to kind of be discerning as far as the free agents are concerned. Just free agents specifically is what we're looking at this evening. So I want to start with a simple question. Who has been the best free agent pickup in John Robinson's tenure? Reed, let's change that from Titans history to John Robinson's tenure, and let's take let's pare that down a little bit if we could. On Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Chris Frazier says Delaney Walker. Delaney was also not done under this regime. Delaney is the best free agent ad in Titans history, I would argue. But again, that did not come under John. Delaney did play under John, but was not signed by John Robinson. That was the previous administration. So who is the best free agent pickup in John Robinson's history? Let me know on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We'll talk about it together just to kind of refresh your memory. John Robinson was hired as the Tennessee Titans general manager in the 2016 season, ahead of the 2016 season. And the personnel changes, obviously, he had to do a significant amount of heavy lifting to put together this roster. There's a variety of different players, everybody from Logan Ryan is a good example of a good free agent signing. Malcolm Butler, a good example of a good free agent signing. Will Compton would be an example of a terrible free agent signing. No, I kid. We joke because we love Will. Had a couple of productive seasons here in Tennessee. Kenny Vaccaro, free agent. I'm not just looking at defensive backs, but like more recently, Roger Saffold. You could look at Cam Wake, good or bad. Vic Beasley, Jadeveon Clowney, both of those guys, free agent signings. But we're focusing on the best right now. So who is the best free agent signing so far through John Robinson's 6 seasons? We will talk about that together. It's your Two Rivers Ford take. It's, as always, presented by Two Rivers Ford. Two Rivers Ford is where you go for the best car buying experience possible. Two Rivers Ford is the place for you when it comes to your new or pre-owned vehicle, whichever makes the most sense for you. Now, if it seems like everything is hard to do these days, I've got some great news for you, because there's still one thing that's incredibly easy, and that's buying a vehicle from Two Rivers Ford. No matter how you like to shop, Two Rivers is there to make it happen for you, whether it's the Built For You program like I did, or whether you want one of their non-commissioned sales staff to keep a lookout for vehicles that come available on the lot that may work for you and your family's budget or your needs. And don't forget, Two Rivers Ford always sells below MSRP on all new non-specialty vehicles. So you can rest assured you're getting the best price. So when it comes to finding a vehicle, go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet and let them do the work for you. Two Rivers Ford, put Two Rivers Ford on your team today or online at tworiversford.com. So who's the best free agent signing in John Robinson's 6 seasons? There's some pretty good hits on this list. Kind of going through the last couple of seasons. Let's just take this. Let's take this down the list. There's a lot to mention. 6 seasons is obviously a substantial sample size, and there's some guys who are starters, some guys who were more depth pieces. Josh Reynolds, Kendall Lamb, Kevin Johnson, and Jackrabbit Jenkins, Matthias Farley, Bud Dupree, Morgan Cox, the long snapper, and Danico Autry. Ola Adeni, a part of that free agent class from last offseason. You look at Ty Sambrailo, Jadeveon Clowney, Jonathan Joseph, who was not a great one, Nick DeZubnar, Jack Crawford, Ibrahim Campbell, like some names that you would recognize, some names that you don't. We talked about Kevin Palm Field. I still remember that. Kevin Palmfield, who was going to take some snaps at some point throughout the course of his tenure here, but did not necessarily pan out the way that I think a lot of Titans fans would like for it to have. Now, here's what I'll say. Darren Bates, also a free agent signing here, both Darren Bates and Will Compton, podcasting linebackers, both former Titans free agents. For the best of them, I think it has to be situational, right? Because Donald Redd brings up a good one. Rashard Matthews ended poorly, right? Like the Rashard Matthews situation ended really, really unfortunately, because it seems like they were going to have the ability to build something around an offense that had some kind of talent, that was looking to continue to add some kind of talent at the wide receiver. But the value that they got out of Rashard in those first couple of seasons, I think would be regarded as one of the better moves of John Robinson's career, even as it kind of spiraled out of control. Derek says Matthews was a J-Rob guy. Yes, that is correct. Rashard Matthews was a John Robinson guy. Bryson Williams says DeMarco Murray. DeMarco Murray does not count. DeMarco Murray was a trade acquisition in John Robinson's first year, as was Dennis Kelly, right? So remove trades from the circumstance. Look solely at free agents that were signed off the open market. So I think that Rashard Matthews is a really, really good situational one. The answer, it's tough to do in only one season, right? But it is hard for me. I think Ben Jones is probably the best long-term signing that John Robinson has had as I go through this. Logan Ryan was here for a short period of time, but did contribute at a high level. Dion Lewis is somebody who played consequential snaps for them, but didn't necessarily pan out. Malcolm Butler ended up being a tremendous addition for them, even though he had some moments where people, I think, were pretty critical of him. Hell, even going down the list of some guys whose names might not necessarily pop for you. Jonathan Cyprian and Eric Decker were both a part of a playoff team. You look at Valentino Blake, who was a terrible one, and kind of see how far the Titans secondary issues have come. But one of the first ones was Ben Jones. Ben Jones is probably the answer across John Robinson's career, but damned if there's not been a more impactful one than Danico Autry in recent memory.
Danico Autry, when I think about you, I think about big plays. Nearly 50 tackles for loss, 30 and a half sacks in your career. What is it about your game that has allowed you to make so many big plays since you came into the NFL?
It's all attitude, man. Just the effort and mindset that you have to go be great and be that on the field.
For you, it seems like versatility is also a big part of your game. Is it really fair to say that you don't mind lining up all over the defense, anywhere the team needs you?
No, I don't. It's end of the day, it's still football. I put my hand in the dirt and go.
Why were the Tennessee Titans the best choice for 2021?
They have a lot going on here. I love the team. I love the morale. I just want to be a part of that.
Jeffrey Simmons has already gotten very excited on social media that another Mississippi State Bulldog defensive lineman is going to join the team. So, number one, how well do you know Big Jeff? And number two, what do you hope to be able to do together when you're on the field?
I know Jeff. I don't know him on a personal level, you know what I mean? But I'm trying to get to know him. Hopefully, we can, come together, and work with each other, work off each other.
What do you think you bring to the Titans defense What are those most important qualities?
I'm this tough guy, hard nosed. I'm gonna give you everything I got every play. It was big, just I appreciate them for even giving me the opportunity. So, I came in with a chip on my shoulder to prove to them that I was what I say I am.
Yeah. You feel like you've done that?
I did a little bit. I feel like I could have did more.
A man of few words is Danico Autry. You always gotta be prepared with like 16 follow-ups for Danico, because you're gonna have a minute to get all of your questions in, and he's gonna answer you in 3 to 5 word max. But his play speaks for itself. Danico Autry has been one of the most high-level instant impact free agents of John Robinson's career. Now I know we're talking best. Best is probably Ben Jones, who signed here in 2016 and has been a critical part of what exactly they have built over the course of the last couple of years. But Danico Autry is a really, really good player. Donald Red says it's a little bit of recency bias. I would agree. I would agree that is recency bias. But again, there's some good selections to pick from. There's also some bad ones that we'll talk about here in just a second. But Danico, man, he embodies exactly what they want in a football player. I don't talk. They just go out there and bust ass. Like it's like I remember asking Mike Vrabel about Nate Davis one time. And he goes, yeah, Nate just works. Like Nate, Nate's not Lawan, right? Nate's not out here busting with the boys, shotgunning beer off of catfish, all these different things. Nate is what one of my buddies in the scouting community. He now works for SB Nation. He's the podcaster in chief at SB Nation, Michael Kist. Remember, I had him on right after that 2019 draft, and he told me that Nate Davis is a certified shit kicker. And, outside of Nate having a producer, all right, get on camera if you're gonna hold up the shirt. What a ridiculous thing for producer Reed to try and distract me with.
I don't know what you're talking about. All I'm simply have is the greatest Taylor Lewan is my dad t-shirt in full support of the boys. Gotta love it. Best left tackle in Titans history.
Oh my God.
I'll go back to the shadows.
No. Now wait, damn it. Wait. Now you don't go to the shadows until I send you to the shadows. That's not how this works. Why are you wearing a shirt that says that Taylor Lewan is your father? You have a father, Reed. It is not Taylor Lewan.
I do have. He's Nashville's dad, though. He's the best dad around there. You know it. I made a personal connection with him, but it's just one of those that loved the pick when we first made it originally. He's exceeded my expectations, maybe not others, so I understand that. But got to support the boy. Got to support both the boys, even if one of the boys won't call me back. I'll let that one go at a different time, though.
A shot across Will Compton's bow makes me very happy. All right, now you can go back to the shadows. In here with a Taylor Lewan is my dad shirt. I've got a what do you call it? Not an intruder amongst the ranks, but whatever it is. Taylor Lewan is everybody's dad. No, he's not. Taylor Lewan is not my father. All Taylor Lewan is a giant pain in my ass. I'm sure Taylor's going to see that. I'm sure somebody's going to send him a screenshot. I'm sure I'm going to have to deal with him later. Anyway, but yes, as far as recency bias is concerned, I would say to you that that Danico Autry is probably a product of recency bias, because Ben Jones, I mean, I don't think he's missed a start since he has been here in 2016. And if he has, it is one or two. Like, you can count it on one hand. He has been durable. He has been dependable. He has been somebody who they can build not just an offensive line around, but their legit culture around, even as that's difficult to qualify. Ben is probably the right answer, but damn if Danico Autry's not good. All right. Here on A to Z Sports Primetime. Oh, speaking of cool things that are happening or cool things that are coming your way here in the near future, a quick reminder that you can come hang out with us. Producer Reed is coming to the Brooklyn Bowl event that we're putting on with the radio station and with the radio show at Brooklyn Bowl on July the 20th. That's 13 days from now in downtown Nashville. We've rented out Brooklyn Bowl. We're throwing a huge party for an incredible charity, the Church at Mount Carmel, and their free youth summer camp program that operates solely on a donation basis. Would love to have you guys. It's a radio show event, but obviously would love to have you guys as a part of the primetime audience. We don't do stuff as a show enough to kind of hang out, to get together. Hell, Reed and I think we probably see each other in person maybe once a year, because this is a digital media company. So if you have the opportunity to attend, we would love to have you. You can purchase tickets. Of course, the tickets go to the proceeds will go to the charity, of course, but you can purchase tickets at 1045thezone.com. Ramon Foster's going to be hanging out with us. We got Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio going to come through. And what he told me when he called me on the phone yesterday was, Buck, I'm going to show up and I'm going to do some Coach Mack shit. And I said, all right, Mac, you show up and you do some Coach Mack shit. Darren Bates is going to be there bowling. Our buddy Josh Black, one of Nashville's best local comedians, is going to be kicking it with us. So we hope to have you guys there. Again, 1045thezone.com is where you get tickets. What comes with the ticket is bowling for 3 hours. And by the way, Brooklyn Bowl charges, I think it's $15 per half hour to bowl. So we're giving you 3 hours of bowling, two drink tickets with your ticket, food all night, and, the ability to hang out and have a good time with us. It's going to be tremendous. Bryson Williams says Bishop Marcus Campbell. Yeah, Bishop Marcus Campbell was on the radio show. We brought him on a couple of weeks ago to talk about the work that they're doing. I just preached for him a few Sundays ago. Yes, Bryson. So the bishop and his wife, I believe, are going to be there. And I would hope that you guys will be able to come out and hang out as well. So that will be a great time. Buck, how come producer Reed doesn't hang out with us more and share his opinion? That's because I don't like anything that would be perceived as a threat. So just like Lucas with the radio show, I have to keep my thumb on Reed somehow to make sure that it's not Reed sitting in my chair in some way, shape, or form. No, I don't know. It's Reed has the ability. Reed runs the show. So like Reed can come in here anytime he wants to. I don't have to summon him from the beyond every time he makes an appearance. But I think Reed does it out of respect to not completely disrupt the flow of the show as it was. Stephen King says, I wish Buck didn't give his opinion as much. Well, what the hell else am I going to do, Stephen? I'll sit here and stare at you. What do you want me to do? You want me to read to you? I don't have any reading material on my desk right now. Perhaps we could do story time with Uncle Buck. But yeah, if it's not opinion about your sports teams, I don't have anything else to do. So you just got to eat it. The only thing I have on my desk right now to read to you is my Progressive Insurance, no free ads renewal statement. So yeah, I could give you the details of my insurance policy. By the way, no free ads for Progressive, but I'm paying entirely too much for car insurance. So maybe I need to get that quote readjusted. Anyway, so the best free agent addition, I think Ben Jones would be the correct answer there. All right, let's talk about the worst. Who is the worst free agent signing for the Tennessee Titans under John Robinson since 2016? Let me know on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Twitch. We would be glad to have your submission here in the comment section. And while you do that, I will tell you about the person who sold John Robinson his home. That is Gary Ashton and the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. Also sold me my home at the Ashton team. The Intel Edge is what they offer you. It's why all your favorite sports teams, all your favorite personalities in sports use the Ashton Group, the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage, because they have the Intel Edge, which allows you to find your next home if you are currently in the market to sell yours, because it's a great market to do so. It allows you to win the buyer battle, cash in on your home equity now, and make sure that you are getting the best information on all the best properties while everybody else kind of pitter-patters around. GaryAshton.com is where you go for your dream address without the stress and to sell your home for more. Trust the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage at GaryAshton.com. So, who's the worst free agent signing in the Titans' history? Not in Titans' history, in John Robinson's history as a Tennessee Titan general manager. So, looking through this, just kind of going through a list of some of the bad, do this by degrees, right? Valentino Blake was a necessary evil, even if he wasn't a good player, right? They needed corners at the time. He wasn't a good corner, but they ended up, he was one of the signings that they made to kind of get them into a better place. I think that you look at a player like, just kind of going through the list of these things. Sylvester Williams is regarded 2017 a nose tackle. Sylvester Williams, who got a pretty substantial deal here to come, I believe, from the Denver Broncos at the time. Sly Williams was terrible here in Tennessee. One of John Robinson's worst decisions. Kind of going through the list of players. Dion Lewis gets a bad rap, but I think Dion Lewis in a different offense would make a hell of a lot more sense. I think I understood what they were trying to do with Dion while he was here, even if it didn't necessarily pan out the way that Titans fans or the execs wanted it to. But like Dion Lewis, while his career here wasn't the best, he did have some, I think I understood the plan with what they were trying to do with Dion, certainly during his time here. And that's something that I think a lot of people in football looked at as like, okay, that's a pretty good free agent addition.
After 1 week, are we all in agreement that it's time to move Dion Lewis ahead of Derrick Henry? Stefania, I feel that is the case.
I do, but I think it's close. Like I have them pretty close together. I just want to see. I don't really know what to make of Tennessee's offense. Number one, you got Mariota, who is dinged up last week, and so Dion Lewis is a pass catching back. I don't even know what's going to happen with Mariota. I know they expect him to play, but I'm still a little concerned about the ability for him to play. So I think they may try and run it a lot with Henry. Didn't look great last week, but I think that could change. So I have them pretty close.
Matthew, how close do you have it?
So I have Dion Lewis at 20. I have Derrick Henry at 32, and I would agree with you that if Marcus Mariota were to miss this game, I would move Henry up. But honestly, I thought Dion Lewis looked like the better running back, and I don't think it was all that close. Now, it was a weird game, obviously, because there were so many delays and a bigger guy like Derrick Henry coming off the field and like trying to get going again. I mean, Henry's one of those guys that he needs to be fed the ball a ton.
The interruptions didn't help him.
And wears down a team in the fourth quarter. Having said that, I don't know that he's going to get that kind of run, especially the way that Dion Lewis looked. I mean, he had a 47-20 snap edge over Derrick Henry since week 14 of last season. 97 different players have a carry gaining 15 or more yards. Derrick Henry is not one of them. He's average. He has two 70-yard carries since the beginning of last season. You take those two big plays out, the guy's averaging 3.39 yards per carry. He's averaging 2.31 yards per carry over his last 5 games here. It's sort of about in week 2, Field. To me, it's a little bit about confidence. How confident, based on what you saw out of Derrick Henry and Dion Lewis from last week? Henry did not look good. Lewis did. How much confidence do you have in Derrick Henry this week?
Here's the bottom line is it was impossible for me to envision a scenario in which Dion Lewis stayed healthy and was not supremely involved in this offense.
So if memory serves, that was what, Reed, the 2019 season? The start of the 2019 season, which, that included obviously the weird-ass Miami game. Eric Castillo says, little did they know. Well, I mean, Eric, that respectfully, do you remember how bad Derek was? Like, and not bad, but like Derek was not who Derek ended up being. Like, even at the start of 2019, even with Arthur Smith, it is, I think that's what makes Derek's story so crazy is that he was not what he is now or what he was considered to be when he came into the league. This was a player who was losing snaps to David Fluellen. David Fluellen, who, okay, I know like fans who were fans of the Titans during the down bad times, right? Every time Flu come in, boo. Mickey Ryan loved David Fluellen. David Fluellen was that was 2018 with Matt LaFleur. No. That was basically 2019 until the second half of the Carolina Panthers game where Derrick Henry, where they finally figured out to just give him the damn ball, just continue to run him with the damn ball. That was you guys wanted Arthur Smith's ass. That was the first year we were doing the primetime show, right? I remember getting on there basically through the first 6 weeks of the season. Basically up until Marcus got benched, and you guys wanted Arthur out. So let's not be prisoners of the moment. Recency bias is crazy. But Derrick Henry was on the trading block in the 2018 season. it is insane. Tannehill, Kyle Ryan says we got Tannehill in 2019. Tannehill was on the Dolphins in that game. I still think you were wrong. Tannehill wasn't here, buddy. Ryan Tannehill, 2018 was the start of the 2018 was Mike Vrabel's first year. So in 2018, Matt LaFleur would have been the offensive coordinator. What that clip was from was 2019. 2019 was they started the year with the Houston Texans, if my memory is correct. So forgive me, I misspoke earlier. I said that the Dolphins game was the start of the 2019 season. That is incorrect. So apologies on that. I did make that mistake. So, but Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, even through the first 6 games of 2019, Derrick wasn't doing anything special with Marcus at quarterback. Respectfully, Derrick didn't do shit again until the second half of the Carolina game, which I believe was 2019 because Ryan Tannehill was quarterbacking and they had like a Dion Lewis game plan in the first half. I remember being in the press box in Charlotte looking down and being like, what the hell is this that I'm watching? This makes absolutely no sense. So forgive me, Kyle, you are correct. I did mix up the starting of the 2019 season saying that it was the Miami game. The Miami game was the start of the 2018 season, which was the first game of Mike Vrabel's career. So thank you for catching me on that. MB says, Buck, was anyone doing anything? Dean Pease defense was. They had to play. They were averaging 20 points a game. Like they were absolutely suffocating people at the time. Bryson Williams says Derrick called his own running style soft during that time frame. You know, it's not that, I mean, yes, I wouldn't call Derrick soft, but definitely there was a change in like the mindset, right? A change in the mentality that you know, you clearly saw Derrick getting north and south with greater urgency as opposed to trying to, you know, remember he would lose yardage, trying to run for the sideline because he was playing like he was at Alabama, right? When he's bigger, faster, stronger than everybody else. Derrick is still bigger, faster, and stronger than everybody else, but it was a better strategy for him to use the physical gifts that he has as a north and south runner as opposed to trying to be shifty at 250 pounds. So that's the kind of stuff that you really saw Derrick take on. And you know, I know the Eddie George like pep talk is the stuff of legend now. I don't know what Eddie said to Derrick. I don't know how much of an impact that actually had on Derrick. All I know is Derrick is an absolute shit kicker now. But that wasn't the case for basically the first, Derrick was drafted here in 2016, I believe, because that was the Jared Goff and Carson Wentz draft, because the Titans had the number 1 overall pick. John Robinson traded out of the number 1 overall pick. The first round pick would have been Jack Conklin. And then with those second round picks, they took Kevin Dodd with their first second round pick, 33 overall. They took Austin Johnson, the defensive tackle out of Penn State. And then with the third of the second round picks that they had acquired, they took Derrick Henry. So yeah, Derrick really didn't do jack shit for his 2.5 years, his first 2.5 years here. And then, you know, now he's got a Hall of Fame resume that he's putting together. But the worst free agent signing by John Robinson in his career is Vic Beasley. Vic Beasley, who was an abject disaster. Vic Beasley, who was supposed to be a pass rush solution and was like 10 days late to training camp. I think he cost himself, or like I think it was a full week late to training camp. I think he cost himself $100,000, and just was not telling anybody his whereabouts. It was very weird. That was during the Zoom era. So we're sitting there on Zooms with Vrabel and John and asking him, hey, where the hell is your outside linebacker? And they're just being like, we've had conversations with him. We are just waiting for him to show up, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Vic Beasley was really, really bad. So he obviously didn't last here. He got cut in November of that season. Him and Jonathan Joseph both, after they blew it against the Cincinnati Bengals, I think like 6 or 7 weeks into the year. That was Joe Burrow's rookie year. They had like 2 wins on the season to that point. They went to Cincinnati and got absolutely dummied in ways that are still unthinkable to me. Anthony says Clowney is right there next to Vic Beasley. No, Clowney's still a high-level player. Like, honestly, like I know the Clowney thing didn't work out here. but like Jadeveon Clowney is a substantially better player and was a considerably better player when he was available. He obviously wasn't available very often. But and you have higher expectations for Jadeveon Clowney, even though Vic Beasley was also a first-round pick. But Vic Beasley was way worse. Justin Jefferson ended Jonathan Joseph's career. No, what? Just I don't remember Jonathan Joseph in that because that was what, week 3 against the Vikings. But I remember that Malcolm Butler got absolutely dummied by Justin Jefferson in his rookie year. I mean, that was brutal. He took him for a roller coaster ride. Really unpleasant stuff for Malcolm Butler in that game. But yeah, I think Donald Red says Clowney was worse because of the hype given. Yeah, maybe so. You know, I can't tell you how to feel about that because I know you guys certainly had expectations. Hell, we had expectations for Jadeveon Clowney, and it fizzled, right? It fizzled out very quickly. But I do think that Vic Beasley was worse because not just because, I mean, they gave him almost $10 million guaranteed. Like the contract details were terrible. At least Clowney, they shut him down because he got hurt. They weren't ever going to cut Jadeveon if he was healthy. But like Clowney, you see him on the Browns play next to Myles Garrett, and that's the guy that you thought you were getting. He's been great since he's been in Cleveland. Now over 2 seasons. This will be his 2nd season in Cleveland, I do believe. So yeah, I mean Clowney is still playing at a high level, and Vic Beasley's out the league. Because I think Vic Beasley also ended up on the Las Vegas Raiders during that 2020 season, and there was like a video of Zach Pascal, the Colts wide receiver, absolutely pancaking the living shit out of him in ways that should not happen to an outside linebacker, where there's like a 50 to 60 pound weight advantage. Anyway, weekend bounce back. Let's wrap it up here on A to Z Sports Prime Time. Who needs to bounce back the most in sports? On Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, and Twitch. Why don't you let me know who you think needs to bounce back, and we will discuss at length together right after I tell you about our friends. Well, actually, no, I've told you about everybody that I need to tell you about this evening. Reed, I do not see a bounce back video, though, it would appear, in my queue. So as far as the bounce back is concerned, perhaps that's something that we can get into here in just a second. Who needs to bounce back the most in sports? Derek R says CBS Sports for their take on the Titans defensive front. I tagged you. Here's the thing, Derek. I will say, I did not see it, so I will. Here's what I'll say about tagging me and shit like that on Twitter. I will see maybe 1 out of every 20 that you guys tag me and things like that. 1, because I don't read my mentions a lot anymore. I really wish I should probably, it's probably not something I should admit, but like, and I'm grateful that as many of you guys interact with me on Twitter as you do, but like, I rarely check my mentions, especially for shit like that. Like, I don't care what CBS Sports has to say about the Titans defensive front. I don't have the energy for it. But I will assume that whatever it was that they said was not good. Derek R says they didn't even put the Titans in the top 10. Well, you know, I mean, what, like I said, whatever. I don't care. Baker Mayfield needs to bounce back, says Derek Othello West. Took a pay cut and needs a job with the Carolina Panthers. Yes, the Carolina Panthers are terrible. And the Carolina Panthers have an offensive coordinator who didn't like Baker Mayfield very much at all. That offensive coordinator is Ben McAdoo, who is most famous for his weird change of hairstyles as the head coach of the New York Giants. He has yet another new hairstyle as the offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers, who, when Baker came out of Oklahoma in 2018, said that he didn't like anything. The only thing that he liked about Baker Mayfield was his attitude, because he's a gamer, but he's too short and he's got small hands. And now Ben McAdoo's his OC.
You look at Stam as your starting quarterback?
Sam is our starting quarterback, yes. You know, one of the things I've been working on is being better talking to you people. So, you know, announcing the starting quarterback here, I just put my foot in the mouth. So that wasn't something I should have said, but.
So that's Ben McAdoo and a dope. The Carolina Panthers and the Cleveland Browns and Baker Mayfield all in desperate need of a bounce back at this point. Steven, 1986 on Twitch says, producer Lucas on the radio show needs to bounce back with his ridiculous Saints takes. Buck is right no matter how much you want to believe it. Well, I don't know about that, but I will, because you're agreeing with me, I'll say that you're right. Absolutely so. Lucas has this weird obsession with Jameis Winston and the New Orleans Saints. It's very, very bizarre. But yes, I think that all of those parties involved in the Carolina Panthers, Cleveland Browns trade, I think they could use a bounce back, because I don't think that either of those teams are going to be substantially better than when they were. All right, that's going to do it for us on the Primetime Show. It's a great time had by all. Thank you guys for your participation. Couple of things on the way out the door. 615 Sessions podcast. Producer Reed's going to have that up in your favorite podcast feed for tomorrow morning with Corey Curtis of WKRN News 2. We talked a lot about what the quarterback miss rate in the first round means for somebody like Malik Willis as a third-round pick for the Tennessee Titans. Radio show from 10 to 1 tomorrow on 104.5 The Zone. Coach Dave McGinnis is going to be hanging out with us. And just like Coach Mack called me and told me the other day that he's going to show up at Brooklyn Bowl on Wednesday, July the 20th and do Coach Mack shit. Coach Mack is going to be doing Coach Mack shit at 11:20 Central Time on the radio show tomorrow. So we hope that you will join us then. Again, I will remind you that the Brooklyn Bowl situation, tickets at 1045thezone.com. Come hang out for a great cause, a charitable effort that we are putting together with a lot of our friends who are going to be hanging out with us. We want to have you there as well. So make sure you do that. All right, now you can throw up the end screen, Reed. Thank you for waiting on that. Have a great weekend. Full primetime show week next week, which means that we are back with you Sunday night at 8 p.m. Central Time or thereabouts.